We're going to talk about the TMS 402 2016 Masonry Code and the major changes in it. Just as an outline, we'll do an introduction where we'll look at changes actually first of all in the 2000 IBC, a few things related to Masonry, a little overview of TMS 402.16. There were really only two major technical changes. One was the addition of shear friction provisions. The other was some changes in anchor bolt provisions. There were some other more minor technical changes that we'll go through, and also a little bit of format and editorial changes and just layout changes that we'll talk about. So I guess the good news is there's not a whole lot of change in the 2016 edition. As I said, first we'll look at the IBC, the 2018 IBC, some changes affecting masonry. There were two materials added, architectural cast stone and adhered manufactured stone veneer. Empirical design was limited now only for Adobe, and there was a splice length, a small sort of splice length change in allowable stress design. So we'll go through those real quickly. Architectural cast stone, the type of thing you see on the buildings here. So actually there are three new standards for architectural cast stone put out by TMS, the Masonry Society. There's TMS 404, TMS 504, and TMS 602, which relate to the design, the fabrication, and the installation of architectural cast stone. So we won't be covering that in this webinar, but those are three new resources for architectural cast stone. The IBC also added adhered manufactured stone masonry veneer units conforming to ASTM C1670. These were also added to TMS 602, the specification. So this is an example of these adhered masonry veneer units. There's a good installation guide and detailing options that's put out by the manufactured Veneer Masonry Association, which actually is sort of part of NCMA. So if you go to the National Concrete Masonry website, you can also get the information on that. So that's some good information there if you're dealing with adhered manufactured stone masonry veneer. TMS 402 almost deleted empirical design. Empirical design is in appendix. It's very limited in scope. But the problem was that the IBC actually used empirical design for Adobe. So if we removed empirical design, there was nothing at all left for Adobe. So IBC has removed the link for clay and concrete masonry, so they cannot be designed by empirical design, but it still is in there for Adobe. In the next edition, we have voted to remove empirical design from TMS 402, so I'm not quite sure what will happen with Adobe, but we'll see on that. There's also a small change in allowable stress length modifications that there was an alternate to the TMS 402 splice length is to use this equation, 0.002 times the computed stress in the reinforcement times the diameter of the bar. And if the stress is greater than 80% of the allowable stress, then you have to increase the development length by 50%. Well, it turns out back actually in 2013, we increased the allowable stresses. We did a recalibration of the allowable stresses. So hence the development length went up, and the development and splice length. So the IBC added in that the development length need not be greater than 72 bar diameters. This had always been and recently been in strength design. Was added in allowable stress design. I personally don't agree with this. I don't think there was a technical basis for the change. It does only affect bars that are near the face or the offset from the center of the wall and near the face of the wall. If the bars are in the center of the wall, it really has no effect. That the TMS 402 equations will actually give smaller splice lengths than this, but it does have an effect if the bars near the surface. So it is there, it's in the IBC, so it's in the code. I'll just be very honest, it's not something I would use. But That's where we're at. So now just a little overview of TMS 402. We'll talk about the organization, the name change, number of pages, or future edition, and so forth. If you've not used the 2013 TMS 402, going from 2011 to 2016, we did do a reorganization in 2013, not like ACI 318 did, but rather chapter 1 was becoming pretty long in our code, so we broke it into basically 7 chapters. So now there's a part 1 general, just some general requirements, notation, definitions, quality, and construction. Part 2 has general analysis and design requirements. This would be things like the modulus of elasticity of the masonry,